and let us get started. So, Praneeth, Vishal, Datta and Ananya, can you guys help me recall what did we do in the last class? Anybody? Yes, Vishal, go ahead. Okay. And then, and if I say I don't agree, what will happen? Yes, Datta. Algebraic properties, that's the word I was wanting to hear. So when we talk about, we talked about limits, continuity of a function, and then we started looking at what happens. So Ram and Ananya, you might want to switch your positions. Yeah. I would want you to be a little closer so that whatever heat gets into the middle of the topic, it calms you down. Okay. So, we talked about how does that limit and continuity concept extends beyond being limited to just one function. Okay. So, when we have multiple functions coming into play, function A has certain graph, function B has certain graph, when these two get added, what happens? When you subtract them, what happens? How does the algebraic properties of addition, subtraction, multiplication, all that work? So that's what we talked about. So we will take it further and we'll talk about the next concept, which is what I forgot. So let me go to that. So our plan for today would be selecting procedures to determine limits and then determine limits using squeeze theorem. Now the question is, what do we mean by selecting procedure to determine limits? Whatever we have learned so far, our goal is to understand how this understanding of limits, understanding how something being undefined, something being undefined or something going out of bound, how does it relate, from where do we start, or what would be our approach towards breaking down a concept into simple pieces. Yeah. So let's look at certain scenarios first before we get into more details of how do we solve things. Let's say I have a function x which equals b by a. Yeah. I have a function f of x which equals b over a, where b and a are both real numbers greater than 0. I mean, there are two scenarios. Let's say one scenario is when b and a both are positive numbers greater than 0. Greater than 0. That is one scenario. Second scenario is when a is less than 0. Sorry, a is equal to 0. And third scenario is when a is equal to 0 and b is also equal to 0. Yeah. I have a function f of x equal to b over a, and there are three scenarios when a and b both are greater than 0. Second scenario is when a is equal to 0, and third scenario is when a is equal to 0 and b is also equal to 0. So when you are dealing with any function, I'm just thinking, am I stressed out to misguide you guys, or am I articulating it right? Let me park this. I'll come back to this one, okay? Before that, I want to set certain guiding principles. So we have talked about what is limit, what is how do we relate a limit to a value of a function, and what is meant by a function becoming discontinued at a point or going out of bound or not having any limits, right? That part we know. Are you guys with me so far? Pradeep, Vishal, Datta? Okay, so we know what is definition of limit. Now the most important part, if I have to make a very bold statement, I would say I'm making a very bold statement right now, which says limit of any function of x where x is approaching a is equal to f of a. And that is true for every circumstances as long as the function is continuous in nature. Meaning, if I have a function like this, if I have a function which is graphing like this, meaning there is no discontinuity, there is no break, there is no limit not existing, there is no function going out of bound, then my limit of a function where x is approaching a will be equal to function of a. Yeah? So limit, so now I'm kind of taking you guys one step backward. At this point, if my limit, if the function becomes discontinuous, what that means is my limit exists because from both the sides I'm approaching the same point, but at that point the function becomes undefined. Yeah? So this statement holds true under every circumstances unless your function breaks at that point. So whenever you are looking at any function, the first thing you have to do is, this is more of a strategy, okay? How do you find out the limit? How would you approach this kind of scenario itself? You will first look at what is my value of the function for the given value that it is asking for. Okay? If somebody says find out function of x limit x approaching a, my first thing would be, okay, our a is let's say 5 and the function is x squared plus 3. Now to find out the limit when x is approaching 5, first thing I'll do is I'll plug that value here. 5 squared is 25 plus 3. In 99% of the cases, my limit of the function for x approaching a and the value of the function for x equal to a will be same, provided the function is continuous. If the function is not continuous, then we look at, okay, am I being continuous before and after, or there is a break? Yeah? Alright, so let's look at the intuitive part of it. Let me do some divide and conquer. So what I'm doing is, I cannot divide much, but I'm dividing the screen itself into 3 parts. This is my first function. This is my second function. And this is my third function. Yeah. Now that's why people say picture speaks 1,000 words. Now this picture would start giving you some clue. In this case, let's say I'm looking at this is minus 2, this is also minus 2, and this is also minus 2. Okay? If I am being asked to find out the limit of this function, and this point is, let's say 4, this point is, let's say 5, and this point is 2, and this point is 7. If I am being asked to find out limit of this is f of x, this is g of x, and this is, let's say, h of x. Okay? If I am being asked to find out limit of f of x when x is approaching minus 2, okay, what will be my value? This is 4. I'll just say what is my value of the function of x at x equal to minus 2, and that is 4 here. I just put it here. If I come to this guy, if I'm being asked to find out limit of g of x when x is approaching minus 2, I will still say it is 5. In this case, limit of h of x when x is approaching minus 2, I will say limit does not exist. Yeah? Are these pictures relatable right now or not? That's my first question to you all. From where this guy came? Yeah? Is this relatable? So this is a function that is continuous. I looked at the value of f of x at value of minus 2, and that is my value of limit. Even if this is discontinued, but this only breaks or becomes undefined at that point, so my limit is same as the value of x. You think we are approaching the same point. But when I come to this one, I see that there is a break, and we say limit does not exist. Now let's relate it mathematically. Here there is no break, so here you are talking about f of x as a scenario of a over b. Both are positive values, or negative, some real value. Okay. Here you are talking about f of x for this value of x where it becomes b over 0, undefined. Okay. And here we are talking about, this is g of x and this is h of x, where from both the sides you are not approaching the same limit, so you are essentially talking about this kind of scenario. I will let you guys process this first. Are you getting the air from? So this is more of a strategy thing that I'm trying to kind of push to you guys, and that says that when there is no discontinuity, you are just finding out the value of the function for the given value, and that is your limit. Even if there is a discontinuity, but only at that point when you are approaching from both the sides same value, it is also as good as the value of the function. You are saying that you are approaching that value. But if it becomes discontinued, meaning your numerator and denominator both have 0 by 0 undefined state, that is what leads to this break in this graph. So this one relates to this undefined state, this one relates to this by 0 state, and this one relates to the wonderful state, where your function and limits are just the same, because there is nothing that you have to bother. The function is continuous in nature. For every value of x, you have a value that exists. So from a strategy point of view, it says that if you have to find out the limit, you will first try substituting that value in the function, and if you get a simple answer, that's a limit. If you see that this becomes undefined, but the graph is up for a value less than that or more than that. I mean, when you are coming from positive side or negative side, it's approaching the same point. Your limit is same as the function of x. Only under the scenario where your numerator and denominator both is giving you a negative zero value by substituting the value of x, that is when you will just say limit does not exist. So it's like a cookbook, which is telling you that without bothering much about the equation, you can just find out the value of the limits by plugging in the value. Now let me give you guys some problem to deal with, okay? Because otherwise it will remain cryptic and complicated. So, are you guys okay so far, or something is sounding a little bit unconvincing? Okay so far? Praneet, Vishal, Datta. Okay, so let's look at some real problem. Let's say I have a function definition as this: f of x equals x squared plus 4 divided by x. Okay, and I asked you guys to find out the limit of f of x when x is approaching 2. Find out limit of f of x when x is approaching 0, and find out the limit of, I have some unwanted students in the class, limit of f of x when x is approaching, let's say, 8. So I'll just give you guys some time to think. Okay, so this is my function definition: f of x equal to x squared plus 4 divided by x. You have to find out the limit of f of x when x is approaching 2, x is approaching 0, and x is approaching 8, without graphing it, just by putting some strategy around it. How would you think is what I'm trying to figure out. If you guys need a minute to think about it, you have 1 minute extra. I'm giving you guys 2 minutes to think about it, and then we'll deliberate the strategy around this one. Till the time we have to take care of some unwanted guests here. Okay, so let me hear your opinion, point of view, confusion, dilemma, whatever it is. What is that you are thinking, Praneet, Vishal, Datta, and Nanya? One by one. So the ask is very simple, right? The ask is we have to find, this is a function defined, f of x equal to x squared plus 4 divided by x, and we have to find out the limit for f of x when x is approaching 2, when x is approaching 0, and when x is approaching 8, without doing the calculation, just based on judgment. So it's like we are strategizing how we approach this kind of problem. What is going in your mind right now, Praneet? Praneeth, yeah, go ahead. Okay, Vishal. Vishal Datta, I just want to hear everybody's point of view before I start talking about it. Yeah, go ahead, I'm getting you.
I'm not sure, I'm still thinking.
Okay. Nanya?
Like I know the second one would be like undefined,
Uh-huh.
and then the first two, I like the first one and the last one, I like plugged in the values right now.
Okay. How about Datta?
I'm still nervous.
Okay, so this is, will it be okay Peter if I get you house arrested here? Okay. Because they keep flying in. If there is nothing is not affected. Okay. Now, see, now I'm not trying to solve this. I'm trying to put my thoughts around this one. A clear-cut case, when x is 0, when x is approaching 0, or when x is equal to 0, my denominator becomes 0, and this is 0 square plus 4. So my numerator is safe. Only my denominator became 0. So this became 0 over, something over 0 case. But when x is any value, even 0.1, 0.001, 0.0001, then I still have a value. Be it positive, be it negative. Okay? I have a value here. That means, to me, it looks like it has a problem only here. Otherwise, things were looking okay. Yeah? So here, I'm just going by what happens to my denominator. If I'm looking at this kind of scenario, I know this becomes discontinued at this point. But a little bit I'll think about the numbers. Let's say if I'm looking at a negative number. Let's say I'm looking at a negative number 0.001 negative versus 0.001 positive. This negative will still keep it as 4, and this number 0.001 positive will keep it positive, and this value will keep it negative, but the same point. So we see that this only becomes discontinued when we have this value. And for other values, x is greater than 0, x is greater than 2, we don't see a problem. We have absolute value here. So function of x for x equal to 2 and limit of f when x is equal to 2 is matching. Yeah? Yeah? Similarly, for x is greater, when x is approaching 8, there also we don't see any problem. My limit and value of the function both are same. So, if you look at from strategy point of view, we did not bother about it. First thing we did was, we simply found the value of f of x for x equal to 2, x equal to 0, and x equal to 8. Here we had legitimate value, we did not have to worry about it. When x was equal to 0, this became, the denominator became undefined, this became undefined. So then we looked at, okay, what happens when I'm coming from positive side versus negative side? Okay, this is only becoming discontinued here. In this case also we found the value. So Now the summary of what we have done so far is, under every circumstances, we first tried finding out the value of the function at a given value that we were approaching towards. Once we came across a contention, that is when we tried decoding it. Or any limit problem, your first attempt would be, okay, is it approaching minus 1? Let me see how much is my value for x equal to minus 1. If I have a value there for the given limit, then that itself says, okay, my limit will be the same. Unless you are dealing with a graph like this, where you have value for this from positive, from negative side, a discontinuity from positive side, then you will look at it based on the graph. If there is no break and your calculation algebraically also is giving you a value, then you are actually good. Yeah. Let's look at other scenario. Let's look at f of x equals x squared minus 16 by x plus 4. And we are trying to find out limit for f of x when x is approaching minus 4. So again, this is something that you guys know already. We are just trying to conceptualize it. So that's what I'm saying. This is my function definition, f of x equal to x squared minus 16 divided by x plus 4. We are trying to find out the limit of f of x when x is approaching minus 4. So what will be the limit for this one? This is a little bit of a trick question. It might make you feel that okay. Okay, let me not give you any clue. Let me leave you guys with the struggle for 2 minutes. I'll be back in a minute. I'll just have to okay. So what is that we are getting to? Negative 8. Ready? Same. Datta. Ananya. Negative 8. So somebody has to explain me how. Vishal, do you want me to try? Because if I go with my level of intelligence, I'll say minus 4. Oh, minus 4 plus 4, 0. Minus 4 squared is 16, 0 by 0, and be fine. That's my initial hunch. When you're saying minus 8, I want you to explain to me and convince me.
So first, I knew that if we write x squared minus 16 as parentheses x minus 4, parentheses close, parentheses x plus 4, parentheses close.
Yeah, Matthew, go ahead.
And then you can cancel out x plus 4 out. It just gives you limit at x equals negative 4, parentheses x minus 4. And then I just plug in negative 4 to x, which is negative 8.
Okay.
Negative 4 minus 4, negative 8.
Pranit, that is your way of looking at it as well. Datta, are you convinced with what your friends are saying? I heard a confirmed yes from Ananya. Datta, I'm just waiting for your response, brother. Are you convinced with what your friends explained? So if you look at, see, right now, while we are modeling the volume, our only goal is to make sure that we just don't know one thing as one thing. We are trying to connect all the dots to be doubly sure about what happens or what goes behind the scene. And at times you will find me contradicting myself also. Because just 5 minutes ago, what I said was that if I have a function definition and I have to find out the limits, I simply plug in the value and see if I am getting a perfect value, I am done. So now here the problem is, if I am just plugging in the value, I am getting into undefined state. So finding out the value of the function for the given limit is certainly the first thing that you want to do always. But then when you come across a situation, when I put minus 4, it became minus 4 square is 16, minus 16 is 0, and 0 minus 4 plus 4 is, again, it became 0 by 0 kind of scenario, and that was getting misleading. Okay, so it was telling me that okay, limit does not exist, but the problem is not with the function, problem is with the particular value of x. And when we try putting that value here, I mean when we look at the function again, we see that there is something common here. The x square minus 4 square by x plus 4, as Vishal said. I am just copy pasting whatever Vishal said, okay? X minus 4 into x plus 4. So here these two get cancelled out and my actual function's value is x minus 4, with the caveat that our whole problem is only with the situation when my denominator becomes 0, because I am cancelling that as a common factor between numerator and denominator. So my function will hold true for every value except x equal to minus 4, and that's what this limit was asking for. Now, so my value that I am approaching towards for any value of x is minus 8. Sorry, for any value of x is x minus 4, and sometimes I get lost in my own story. Yeah, okay, fine. So coming back to this one. So I am saying this function works, function's absolute value is this one, x minus 4. So any value of x that you put, you will get a legitimate and real value of the function of x. And it says that this guy only has a problem when x is equal to minus 4. So at this point only it has problem. So only thing we have to check is, okay, what if my x value is little bit less than, a little bit more than minus 4, and what is my value of x when x is little bit less than minus 4. So let's say if I put x equal to minus 4.1, I'm just trying my luck. This becomes 16 plus something, 16 point, let's say 001. I'm just making it up. And this one becomes minus minus 4.1. So this becomes minus 0.1. So 16 by 0.1 is almost like minus 160. Now let's look at what is happening when my value of x is little bit less than this. So minus 3.9. Minus 3.9. So in that case, this will still be a little bit less than 16. So this will be somewhere around, let's say 15.9, and this is minus 16. And here will be minus 3.9 and plus 4. So this becomes point. What am I doing here? Oh, This is not 16. 4.1 is by 16.001. So this is not 160.001 divided by I need to shake my head and come back to the calculation a little bit. Calculations I cannot go wrong. So I'm just trying to see. First thing is when x is minus 4, this becomes undefined. That is given. Now we are just trying to see what I am approaching towards when I am approaching minus 4 from both the sides. So when my value of x is minus 3.9 or minus 4.1. Am I approaching the same point or not? That's what we are trying to say. If I am approaching the same point, then I will just exclude this one and whatever value comes from here, that will be my limit. Yeah. So let's see. When it's 3.9 minus 3.9, so this will be, I'll just make it up. It will be 15.9 minus 16 divided by minus 3.9. So minus 3.9 plus 4. It will be minus 0.1 divided by minus 0.1. If it is minus 4.1, so this becomes 16.1 minus 16 divided by minus 4.1. So minus 4.1 plus 4. So this became 0.1 divided by minus 0.1, approximately 1. So this one is okay. So here we are seeing something interesting. So at this point, one value is approaching to the positive value, one value approaching to the negative value. What am I doing right now? So when I put this value, it's minus 4. Oh, no, my bad. I'm proud of myself right now. Sorry about that. Let's flush out everything that I said. My simple equation was this. My function was f of x equal to x square minus 16 by x plus 4. Sometimes I muddy the water a little too much to get trapped in my own muddy puddle. So here's the function, and we were trying to find out the limit of f of x when x is approaching minus 4. First thing we saw was, from a strategy point of view, when x is minus 4, this became 0 and this became 0, 0 by 0, it is undefined. So then we looked at the function of x, we tried simplifying it, same way fine. When I have this thing, this is x minus 4 into x plus 4, if I rule out the common factor between the numerator and denominator, my function is all about x minus 4. And only thing I need to be careful about is this particular thing cannot become 0. X plus 4 cannot become 0. Meaning x cannot become minus 4. Okay? So if my x is not becoming minus 4, everything is this value. So my function of x, when x is not equal to minus 4, I am checking where my function is landing. When x is equal to 3.9, minus 3.9, and when x is equal to minus 4.1, what happens here? I am only looking at x minus 4. So my x is minus 3.9 minus 4 versus minus 4.1 minus 4. Both are approaching the same value, almost the same value. Again, I get 3.9 and 4.1. There's a gap of 0.2. We don't use that kind of a difference for finding out the limit. So if you keep this number closer and closer to minus 4, you are essentially talking about a negligible difference. So this is approaching the same point. So going back to summarizing this whole thing is twofold. First is, if I have to find out the limit of a function, I will just plug in the value that it is asking for. If I have a value of a function matching with that, if I have a real value of the function, that is going to be a limit of the function as well. If my graph gives me a story that okay, it's breaking or to become discontinued, then I will go for the limit thing, whether it's approaching on the same value from both the sides, or it is discontinued, or it is the limit does not exist. Next thing is, if I have a limit where, based on the value for which I am trying to find out the limit, I will look at my numerator and denominator, and then we are talking about three scenarios. When my numerator and denominator based on the value both are real numbers, my value of the function and the limit are same. If my numerator and denominator is like this, I will check if I am approaching the right limit from both the sides or not. And the third scenario is, based on the limit for which I am trying to find out the value, if it's coming to this form, I will assume that my function is discontinued unless you see what we saw in the last scenario, where we could simplify it to find out a common denominator and numerator. Then only you will do one more round of check. Net, it boils down to the same concept of limit, that okay, whether it's continuous or not continuous. If it's continuous, your limit and function value are same. If it is not continuous, you will look at, are you approaching the same point from both the sides or not, so that you have limit. If you are not approaching the same point, then limit does not exist. Now, how you do it, by graph or by doing calculation, it is up to us, but it's a three-step process is what I would say. And you guys saw me getting lost in my own thoughts a couple of times. So I'm a little bit low on confidence right now. I'm just trying to see if I was more successful in making you understand or more successful in making you confused. Confused?
No, not that
Okay. Okay. How about Pradeep, Datta, and Vishal? I'm sorry, Datta? Understand it? So, whatever mess I might have created in the beginning, I was probably able to do some recovery by collating or putting the points together. Okay? Because this is what happens. It's like a universe where you have all the stars scattered. Okay? You know this star, you know this star, you know this star. Unless you put them together in the right galaxy, it'll just be scattered information to confuse you more. So that's why if I get confused, I will keep taking myself step back to put the things back in place. Okay? That's a normal human tendency, normal human approach. Now, what we want to do now? We want to look at a very interesting theorem called Squeeze theorem or sandwich theorem. So this is more towards the cooking skill. Squeeze theorem or sandwich theorem. Nobody is here to make sandwich, okay? Let's not worry about it. What it says, let's look at some example, okay? And I will give you guys very hypothetical example for today only. Let's say Datta's age is less than equal to Pradeep's age, and Pradeep's age is less than equal to, let's say, Vishal's age. Okay? Alright? If I say Praneeth's age is 12 years. I am making you younger, okay? So that one day you will also make me younger, saying you are 40, 45. Okay? So if I say Praneeth's age is 12 years, how much would be Vishal's age and Datta's age here? Yes, right. Yeah, so Praneeth is saying that if his age is 12 years, Vishal's age will also be 12 years and Datta's will also be 12 years. See, the problem here is that if this is some value and this guy can be only less than equal to this guy. And let me see if I can narrate this a little differently. Yeah. So let's see. Let's look at some examples. Okay. Now Praneeth's age is less than equal to Vishal's age. Okay. Here Praneeth's age is less than equal to Vishal's age. So let's say Vishal is 13. What is the option? What could be age for Datta in that case? So here there is a relationship between these three. Let's say, I'm still thinking, is my story relatable here? Okay. Let me put it a little differently. Okay. Let me change my story a little bit. So the puzzle I gave initially was this. This is a relationship between Praneeth, Datta and Vishal's age. That Datta's age is less than equal to Praneeth's age and Praneeth's age is less than equal to Vishal's age. Okay. Datta is 12 years old. Vishal is also 12 years old. How old is Praneeth now? 12. And Praneeth doesn't have a choice actually. Based on this condition, Praneeth's age is greater than equal to Datta's age, and Praneeth's age is less than equal to Vishal's age. If Datta and Vishal both are 12 years old, Praneeth doesn't have a choice. He is sandwiched between Datta and Vishal. He is actually squeezed between these two friends. He has a constraint that he cannot grow faster than any of them. So that is why this is called a squeeze theorem or a sandwich theorem. Here, this one is sandwiched between these two. Now, if you extend this, so okay, before I go further into it, was this story relatable so far or not? What I'm trying to depict here is I have three conditions or three data points. So two conditions and three data points. Between these two data points, this is the condition. Between these two data points, this is the condition. Okay. So Vishal's age is a function of time. Obviously, time his age changes. Praneeth's age is also a function of time, and Datta's age is also a function of time. So we have three functions. I will call this d of x or d of t. This is t of t. This is a function which is against time. and this is V of t, Vishal against diameter. Here, the condition between these functions is that V of t is greater than equal to P and P of t is greater than equal to D. So if these two have some value, this guy is supposed to have only one value. So this guy's output is squeezed between the output of these two guys. That's why it's called a squeeze theorem or sandwich theorem. So now you will say, right, I am getting sandwich between my friends. This is the sandwich that is coming into play. It has nothing to do with the cooking skills. Now, how would you relate that in the function scenario? Or the limit scenario? There are three functions. This is function 1, function 2 and function 3. For the given value of x, this function is between above this function or meeting this, at this point these are meeting, okay? So at this point this function and this function is actually squeezing this function here, or in other terms, for a given value of x approaching this, let's say 3 or 4, whatever it is, they have matching values. So whatever is the limit for this function or this function decides the limit for this function also, because at this point, like we saw Praneeth, Datta and Vishal, what we saw was when Vishal's age was 12 years, meaning my input was 12. For Vishal and Datta, Praneeth's limit was also constant by that. So this, we will see some application of this in the coming class. I don't rush through it. I just wanted to give you guys a prelude that this, like we have looked at the algebraic properties of the limits, same way this is another element which says that okay, if you have two limits, one limit between, in between the two limits, the limit of this one gets derived based on these two, or these two functions limit dictate the limit for the middle one also, because this function is squeezed between the two functions, and at that given point it is influenced by the other two functions that we look at. So we'll probably spend a little bit more time on this one. I just wanted to give a prelude to this particular theorem, and then we'll try solving a few problems to make it a little more clear to us. So this limit and continuity, this is the last unit in this pre-calculus, and then we'll go back to the beginning of it because Datta and Nanya have joined halfway through. So there's a lot more interesting things that we have to look at. So I will leave it for Praneeth to decide whether he would want to continue with the pre-calculus one or you would want to find something more interesting with calculus, okay? So depending on what creates that excitement for you. So we have one class for calculus on Sunday morning at 8:15. So if that creates excitement for you, we can join the party there. Or else, if you want to revise the pre-calculus concepts, I'm okay with that because I'm anyways revising it every time I'm dealing with you guys. Okay? So we'll leave it to you, but this limit and continuity has, I think probably we need 2 more classes before I can logically say that we have come to at least a point where I can claim that we have gone through all the concepts once. And there's going to be more to deal with problems or practicing problems. Okay? So I would encourage you guys to exchange problems with me among yourselves. Say, okay, fine, I came across this problem. Do you know how to go about it? Or I solved this problem using this approach, which I felt a little more exciting for myself. I'm just sharing with you guys. So get into the habit of sharing. You will certainly see that our reach to different types of problems will increase, and that will make it much more fun. Yeah. All right. So with that being said, I'll let you guys go. Meet you guys in the next class. All right. I'm sorry for whatever juggle that you had to deal with.